Yeah.
Really.
Ryan, what's a niche?
It's an itch. I gotta scratch it. We passed the band already?
Feels sneezy. Hello, and thank you for watching Green Screen. My name is Brett, and this is my associate, Ryan. We're not on a good track here.
Oh, I don't know where I'm going. We should have documented this.
Okay, I got this. I'll
Okay,
take
you go.
the lead. All right, hold on. All right. A great way to set yourself apart from other companies in your area, because screen printing is an extremely competitive market, is to have a niche.
Every business is a competitive market. And if you don't have a niche, you're not catering, you're a generalist, you know? And the thing is, like, what can you be the best in the world at? What audience, and by the way, who do you want to do business with anyway?
Right. Typically you want to do business with people that have the same common interests as you.
We see a theme here, like common interests, where you're going, your customers along with your team, it's the same. So how do you define that niche in whatever you're doing and like target in that unique customer?
Yeah, so I think a great way to start is, what is your hobby? You know, like for me, my hobby is music. It always has been. I'm a musician. I understand what musicians' language is. I understand why musicians need t-shirts. And so it is very easy for me to talk to other musicians about selling them t-shirts.
That's a D?
Well, you're just a fine musician yourself.
So the funny thing is like I asked when I went around with Brett one day and like worked with some of his customers, and I asked, hey, is it important, like the vibes or the culture of printed threads, is that attracted to them? And the first thing he's like, no, it doesn't. And then by the time he was done answering the question, he's like, oh yeah, they're musicians. I make amps. Duh, you know? What a duh. Are you going to go to the sports printer that's in your complex that specializes in sports jerseys? Guess what? Brett's not good at sports. So, I mean, he's a great musician, but he's not. You should see him play ping pong.
Yeah, God did not gift me with coordination.
Yeah, and so the sports printer guy, he's probably good at sports. Just a guess.
Yeah, so like, you know, it could be anything. Your hobby could be scuba diving, right? There's a lot of scuba divers in the United States, and there's a lot of scuba diving shops, right? So why don't you be the best scuba diver printing company and provide shirts to all the scuba diving shops?
And that's actually a niche we heard at a class once, and
right.
They're like, have you ever? I'm like, never heard of it. That's awesome. And that's what excites me about the apparel industry, is all the new, every single day somebody's coming up with something different. It's a different take on a story. And what it does is it creates a new market. Like, we're creating new markets. Your ideas, your networks, the people that align with you are creating new markets, and I think it's incredible.
There's a lot of people out there that are like handyman services, right? And I think that's great, but if I want someone to come wire my house for electricity properly, I'm probably going to hire an electrician, not a handyman, right? Because if you're the jack of all trades, you're the king of none. And for me, I want to be the king of one thing. That does not mean that we cannot work for other companies, but we just need them to see what we are really, really good at. And if they want us to make rock band merch for their dentist office, well, we'll do that, right? But it is always going to have this spin of what we do best to it.
Yeah, and so you print for all sorts of things, and you've got some amazing stories of like how, like, I know at Ryonet we've continued to define that niche down. Like, first of all, our niche was start screen printers. Then it was like, well, they turn into screen printers, so it's screen printers. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute, it's the growing screen printing shop. Oh, then it's the entrepreneurial growing screen printing shop, the one that's continuously trying. Then it's the guy that's, like, now it's the change maker. So we went from just starters to screen printers to entrepreneurs to change makers like Brett, who's actually going out there and teaching other people how to do it. and helping other businesses do it and creating change in the industry, which is exactly what we're trying to do. So we've honed that in over the course of the years where it didn't start that way. So your niche can expand and it can refine and your target can refine. And your stories are amazing. Like you started out printing for bands, and where is it now?
Yeah, so like we started out printing for bands because that's what we know. And then from bands, that led to us printing for music festivals. And the company that was putting on the music festivals was putting on a beer festival too. So we started printing for beer festivals through that. We started printing for breweries.
Are you passionate about beer?
I love beer. I love drinking beer. And so for us to be able to print for music and beer, that's like the best of both worlds, right?
I should do your job.
Yeah, so, and then, you know, where do they sell beer? They sell beers at bars and restaurants, right? So like from there, our name got passed to a bunch of restaurants and we start printing for a bunch of restaurants. And it's crazy how this, the chain reaction or the domino effect happens, because when you start touching all these other people, the word spreads and they all come to you, and they're not expecting you to be the best printer of sports apparel, but they might come to you saying, hey, we are doing an event and we want it to have a rock band theme or a kind of rock band t-shirt look. Can you design the t-shirt for it? And we can.
That's awesome. I mean, I think but you have to become the expert in the first one.
Right.
You have to be if you're the authority in one, that hubs out. If you're not relative or not an authority, how are you going to be relative to somebody else? How are you going to be able to expand? So Ryonet got to be the best person in the world, not the person, Ryonet got to be the best company in the world, and now we're literally in the US setting up the largest shop in the world, because starting screen printers led to growing screen printers, led to selling equipment to growing screen printers, led to innovating with equipment to growing screen printers, led to now working with huge shops, and we never would have gotten there. Never would have gotten there if we would have tried to start there at the beginning. Never. And would you have ever, like, how did you start printing for the Dallas Mavericks?
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. If you work really hard and are extremely passionate about what you're doing, which if you're focusing in on a niche that happens to be one of your hobbies, you're probably going to be really passionate about what you're doing. That shows to everyone. The people, like, it sounds crazy, but like the energy that goes into like printing a garment and doing it extremely well, people feel that. Like when people walk into your shop and they see a bunch of people smiling because they love what they do, that makes a huge difference to your customer, right? And so when we deliver these products and the word spreads that we're delivering products that people love, well, suddenly we can start delivering products to more and more people. And you know, we got a phone call one day from a marketing person at the Dallas Mavericks saying that they wanted a shirt for a 5K that had some sort of like music theme to it. And so we designed the shirt and we printed for it. And then, you know, at some point we were printing shirts for a local radio DJ, and he invited me to go to a Mavericks game. And I'm not a sports person, and I'm certainly not a basketball person. I love going to games just to hang out with people.
Yeah, why wouldn't you?
But like we ended up hanging out with the president of the Dallas Mavericks that night, you know? And it's crazy how like
you went like from just printing a few shirts to knowing a DJ to hanging out with the president of the Dallas Mavericks?
Right. And it's just because we did good at printing shirts for a guy, right? And then suddenly the Dallas Mavericks call us to print t-shirts for them occasionally, you know? So you never know what being really good at this one thing will lead to. You know, some of our biggest clients have filled out quote forms on our website to get a quote for printing t-shirts, you know? And I'll get some crazy phone call from the office like, hey, like, Tom's Shoes just submitted a quote form on your website.
Wow.
But they have to hear about you somehow. And the way they hear about you is because you're top of mind to other people. Focusing in and being really good at one thing is so important. It's so important. Focusing in on what your niche is and becoming really Focusing in on what your niche is and becoming really good at it is super important, because not only will the people that you're working with and trying to sell to see it, but everyone around them sees it too.
So before you can move on, you got to be the best. You know, Jim calls like headshot concept. You got to be passionate about it. You got to be the best in the world at it, and obviously you need to make money doing it. You know, and the moral of the story is, if you want to scratch an itch, you got to find a niche. I love it. Cut.
The bottom line is, you have to have a niche to scratch an itch. So stupid.